Hey, this is Trinity. Hi guys, I've got a message, an opinion, or an idea, and I'm going to share it with you. Um, this time, I've got something that I'm going to talk about regarding your veterinarian, and basically the difference between a traditional vet and a holistic vet, which one you should choose and why, and my feelings on prescription drugs versus drugs and foods versus like natural remedies. So let's just dive right in. Traditional vets use Western medicine and really like to tout the FDA approval of their prescription diets and pharmaceuticals. Though the FDA is really only there to ensure your pet will not be poisoned by these foods, they're not strictly approving things that are nutritionally best for your pet. And we'll get into that as far as like prescription diets in a moment. Most are not trained thoroughly in nutrition. I know that many of you probably have vets that you love and trust and have been going to for years, but it never hurts to get a second opinion. It really doesn't. And they're still just human. They may have been trained in their veterinarian services years and years and years ago, and new stuff comes out every year, and they may or may not be keeping up to date with new studies on pet health and nutrition and stuff. So that's something to keep in mind. Even with somebody that you trust, if they are really trustworthy, they wouldn't mind you getting a second opinion. In fact, they should encourage you. Be like, yeah, definitely, like, I respect that. A lot of them get maybe like one semester in pet nutrition, and the rest is all focused on things like diagnostic medicine, surgery, anatomy, things like that. So they aren't really necessarily going to be the best person to talk to regarding the best diet for your pet. So it's something to really keep in mind. They're not necessarily going to give you things that are going to cure root causes of issues. Most of which can be corrected simply by switching to a better diet, or even prevented with a better diet. They don't look at the whole picture oftentimes. They'll look at, here's the issue, here's what I can do to solve this one issue, or alleviate the symptoms of this issue, rather than the whole health of your pet. It's important that all of your pet is healthy, not that you just alleviate symptoms, for obvious reasons. And if these issues don't go away altogether, like if they're just masking the symptoms or just kind of putting your pet into like this health balancing act, where they're not getting better and they're not healthy, but they're not necessarily showing issues anymore, it just means more vet bills later on, and it does mean that you are shortening the life of your pet. Of course, not on purpose, and your vet may not even realize that that's what they're doing. A lot of vets do believe that like the best food ever for your pet is science diet. No. Let's talk about holistic vets. They tend to be newer, so a little bit more up to date with current studies. They are natural remedy seeking veterinarians who use drugs as a last resort, instead of their first course of action. Generally their first course of action will be instead to fix the diet, look into natural supplements, maybe even, depending on the kind of vet that you go to, they're super hippy dippy. They might talk about acupuncture and chiroplasty, whatever, screw that word, massage, things like that. And of course you can, take that with a grain of salt, but most of them, as far as like the nutrition of your pet, that's who you want to talk to when it comes to your pet's diet, and foods that are going to basically keep you from having to go to the vet later on and pay thousands of dollars. Many of them are more aware of the nutrition that should be entering your pet's body than the traditional vet, because of their newer look on things, and their more up-to-date studies, and the fact that they are looking at the whole pet's health instead of just alleviating one symptom. They may still recommend medicine, but only when needed, generally as a last resort, instead of the solution to everything. They work to cure the issue instead of suppressing the symptoms, which is really important. And their ultimate goal, again, is the complete health of your pet. A good quick analogy would be like the difference between two people doctors. For example, like say you have like a lot of pain in your lower back. Doctor 1 might recommend using some sort of pain pill, like a lead, every day, just for who knows how long, which will probably eventually cause liver damage and may have other side effects, and obviously is just masking symptoms and not, fixing the issue. Doctor 2, however, would ask more questions, find out, what are you doing that might be causing this pain, and recommend things like proper stretching, proper lifting techniques, home remedies that'll heal pain naturally, like a warmed up herbal pack that has like clary sage and peppermint. It works, I've tried it. Things like that. They'll work to find the cause instead of just alleviating the symptoms, and they wouldn't necessarily go straight to, let's do a drug every day for the rest of your life, potentially. And, that way is obviously not going to have any odd or damaging side effects by putting harsh chemicals and drugs to your body, because you're not doing that. So vets are much like doctors, just for your pets, and you have to remember, again, that they're human. They don't know everything. They can make mistakes, and it's perfectly within your right to get a second or even third opinion. Don't just listen to me, and don't just listen to your vet. Talk to other vets. Look at articles online, accredited articles. Talk to other people who go to different vets and see what their vets would say. Call people up, look around, get as much information as you can on your own pet's nutrition and health, so that you can be better informed and therefore make better decisions about who you're going to go to as your authority figure on your pet's health. And if you care about the animals in your life, which you're committed to, you will have no problem doing a little digging and learning more about them and their health. So hopefully at this point you've gleaned that I would pick the holistic vet that knows their stuff, and would never be afraid to get second opinions on anything that even they recommend, because I too care about the pets in my life, just like you do. They're my family, and I chose to be responsible for them, and my goal is to do right by them. Some people might say something along the lines of, who cares, that's too much work, oh my god, you're thinking about it too much, you're putting too much thought into this, like, just go to the vet, it's a dog, it's a cat, why does it matter? And to those naysayers, I would respond, it's exactly the right amount of thought, because you're talking about quality of life. It doesn't matter that it's a dog or a cat, it is the quality of their life. If you can ease their suffering or lessen their suffering, and lessen your future vet bills, why wouldn't you? And being a compassionate human being, I value life over my convenience. It's that simple. Besides, personally, I've always been interested in animals and learning about them, so for me, doing the research is fun and rewarding. If you think it's a drag to take good care of your pets, you shouldn't have pets. So as for my feeling on prescription drugs, they should be a last resort. If it's a healthy, natural remedy and it's working, natural being that it's safe and still effective, but safe and not going to be chemicals or harsh drugs of any kind, and generally like herbal concoctions, like stuff made out of flowers or plants, things like that. Why even risk using pharmaceuticals that often do come with negative side effects and aren't necessarily meant to be ingested? And last but not least, natural treatments actually work to improve the overall health of your pet and cure the root cause over time, as opposed to prescribed food and drugs by traditional vets, where they, again, will be put into this health balancing act where their health will deteriorate slowly over time, and you'll just end up having to keep going back. Or it can shorten their lifespan, which nobody wants, right? I want my dog to live forever. So I feel like more and more vets are being trained in nutrition and getting a little bit more up to date on current studies on pet health. Things like, kibble, not that effective at cleaning teeth. Have you ever tried to clean your own teeth by eating crackers? Doesn't really work. Traditional vets are maybe stuck in the past a little bit, not all of them. And again, if you trust your vet, that's great, but talk to them about these things and get second opinions. And I have to talk to you about Hill Science Diet. They have corn, wheat, soy, gluten, byproducts. They are super high in carbs. They're super high in grains. They're super high in who knows what, because we don't actually know what byproducts are. When it says like chicken byproducts, for example, that could be any part of the chicken. It could be the meat. It could be the beaks. It could be the feathers. It could be the skin. You have no idea. That's the problem that I have with byproducts, is you don't know what's in your food, and you don't know the quality of the animal that's in your food. science diet was originally created, like in World War I or World War II, by some guy who was thinking like, well, people don't have enough money to buy their pets food right now because of the war, so we need to find other ways to help them make sure they get all the protein they need without actually having to give them animals. And that's where the plant-based protein originally came from, and that's where the prescription diet, which is an industry-coined term. There's nothing in that food that actually requires a prescription. The manufacturer requires that. It's not required legally like normal prescriptions are. They really do that for appearances, to have higher quality, and because they have contracts with your vet, which is not really cool because they're worried more about selling that food than they are about how good it is for your pet. And some of them really do think that it is good for your pet, and it's just really not. The only time I recommend science diet is if your pet has a true tested and proven food allergy, where like they eat this food and they break out like a person would, basically. And the only reason why I'd recommend it is because it is the only food that is created in a lab, and therefore the only food that has no chance of cross-contamination. I mean, you can get high-quality, healthy foods off the counter that generally are not going to cause an issue if they're limited ingredient diets, but there's no guarantee that there's no cross-contamination, unfortunately. So as far as like the science diet thing and the prescription, I mean, when those things were first created, they were putting like wood shavings and stuff into that food. It really shouldn't even be around anymore, and people are highly misguided on how good science diet is. They'll also recommend Royal Canin and Purina Pro Plan, which at this point, nobody should be giving any money to Purina. Purina kills dogs. They're crap. They're absolute crap. Turn the bag around, look and see what you're feeding them. Seriously. Anyway, I went off on a whole nother tangent there. So anyway, I encourage you strongly, I will nearly beg you, please do your homework on your own pet's nutrition. Don't be afraid to look it up and get some information yourself. Don't assume that the authority figure in this position, which would be your vet, that they know everything and that they can't be wrong. Even if they are meaning right and they aren't prescribing you things like science diet or Royal Canin because they actually do think that that's the best for your pet. No. The best thing you can do is put them on a high quality diet. Cats and dogs weren't meant to eat kibble. Kibble is for our convenience. It's not for their nutrition. Although there are definitely better, higher quality kibbles out there than others, so if you're still going to feed kibble, at least get the best. So a couple questions you might ask a vet to kind of, vet your vet. Would be, would you ever prescribe science diet to my pet? If they say yes, then I would run to the hills. Not the hill science diet, the other hills, the actual hills. And another thing would be to ask them, like, would you tell me to feed my pet kibble or raw food, or wet food or raw food? And necessarily the answer should be either raw or wet. Kibble is the lowest on the food chain, health-wise, for your pet. So anyway, y'all should know what the answer should be to this by now, and what my opinions are on this. And again, please look this stuff up. I'll also provide you some links. Like and subscribe, and feel free to ask me any questions, have a discussion. If we can be nice, and we can talk. So thank you for listening and for watching, and share this to anybody who you think might need it. Have a good one, guys. Bye.